Hello everybody, Bad Weather Freak here. I wanted to make this video regarding potential development on the Atlantic, specifically, well, not in the Atlantic, but specifically in the West Caribbean or the Gulf of Mexico. And one thing I wanted to point out here is that these forecast models are not that reliable when it goes probably past more than 3 days, but nevertheless it's a good tool to really gauge, if the potential or the probability that a storm might actually form. And like I have said on my past couple videos, the models keep hinting at something developing in the Western Caribbean, so roughly around this area where you see this big flare up here, to potentially, I would say anywhere in the Gulf or this area here. The models are in agreement that something is going to form, but nothing concrete on where, as far as like consistency, and same thing with the track and the strength of the storm. So I wanted to show you guys a couple of models. Again, I have mentioned them on my videos before, but I wanted to actually show you in the Tropical Tidbits website. Amazing resource, amazing tool. I keep recommending it, guys. So first of all, I wanted to show this, the satellite imagery. You see the big flare up here. Can that be potentially what, if it forms and it gets a name, will be Cristobal? I think that's how you pronounce it. It's possible, but let me show you the forecast models so you can take a pretty good look. Now let's go ahead and run the GFS. The GFS has been very consistent as far as developing something. And let's take a quick look at the GFS. If you look here, this is how far out. This is too far out. Like I said, it's too far out to really believe that it's actually going to happen. But like I said before, nevertheless, is very, very possible that something might develop. Now the GFS has this area here actually crossing over into the, from the Pacific into the Gulf. Now, is it gonna happen? Again, we have to keep an eye on that but it's nothing uncommon, and a lot of storms have actually done that, where they cross over. So it's very possible that the storm, if it happens, it could do that. Now that's the GFS. Excuse me. Let's take a look at the European model. Now the European model doesn't go too far out like some of the other models. But let's take a look. You saw there a little spin there. That was actually Bertha. Now the European model, to my experience, is a little more reliable. As you can see, it shows the same thing, something kind of like crossing over and kind of moving this way. That's what the European model is doing. Take a look there. Let you guys see it. See, so it's actually projecting the same thing. So now you have the GFS and the European model both saying the same thing. Now let's take a look at the Canadian model, another main model that a lot of people use. Now for the Canadian model, let's let it run so you guys can see what it's saying. Now this looked like it just updated recently. Earlier this morning was showing definitely more activity. Like I believe it was the GFS was showing something making landfall in Tampa. The GFS showing something very strong, actually making landfall in Texas. So all those things have been scrapped. And again, one of the reasons why you can't believe everything that is showing too far out. But now the interesting thing is, if you look careful, it shows also a storm forming here and kind of potentially crossing over. So now you have 3 out of 3 models predicting the same thing. Now, again, that could change, but that is something that we need to keep an eye on. It's looking like a big probability that something like that is actually going to happen. So we have to keep an eye on that. I wanted to show you also the CDAS, which this is actually very cool tool. This is actually the CDAS Nino 3.4 index. What this is, if you go back, This CDAS or Nino 3.4 is the main area of development around here, around the Pacific, where the majority of the storms form. As you can see, big time cooling has been happening. That's why you see all this blue going on here, because that means its temperatures are actually below average and it's increasingly going below average. So for us, that's not good news, because even though we're not in the Pacific, that basically means that by the Pacific cooling down, the probability of La Nina getting stronger is higher, and that means that we probably will see even a greater warming here, which is expected. So let me go back and show you the graph here. So 0 means neutral. The more plus means El Nino, which again, El Nino means that the Pacific water temperatures actually get warmer, so cooler in our area, in our main developing region area, which is the Atlantic. And that basically means that warming in the Pacific, cooling down on the Atlantic means less storms for us. Now, 0 is neutral. Further down into the negative territory means La Nina. Now, anything under, I think it's like minus 0.50 or plus 50 is pretty much a decent Nino or La Nina. As we can see here, past April into beginning of May, it just started dropping fast. I mean, we're already in almost at a negative 0.6, which is actually stronger La Nina. So the further down it goes, the stronger La Nina gets, which is not good, because La Nina is the opposite of El Nino, means cooling down in the Pacific, warming up in the Atlantic, more storms for us. So this huge drop here, so you can see here that for months, it basically was just hovering in the Nino territory, but now it's just going downhill. So I wouldn't be surprised if actually we will see a revision as we get closer to June, a revision on the forecast models and potentially increasing the numbers of the storms. It's very possible, due to the fact that since they released in April their forecast, seems like they could have based it on this drop here, and that's why they kind of went with higher numbers. But the fact is that after the forecast came out, it dropped even more. So that's something that we definitely have to watch closely. Other than that, that's what I wanted to show you guys, is basically what is going on. Let me actually go over this here real quick on the sea surface temperature one more time. You can see cooling down here, a little bit of cool patches here, but this is definitely going to change as we get closer to the start of the hurricane season, which is actually June 1st. And as we get closer to like July, August, when the sea surface temperatures are going to be much warmer. Now, the interesting thing, as you guys have seen, one of the things that really catch my attention is the fact that the season hasn't even started, and we already have 2 storms that did form, which is not good. It's not a good thing, because even though for the past 6 years we have had at least 1 storm before the actual start of the season, now we have had 2. So that means when you look at the norm, it's actually looking like we're going to have even a busier season, how it did happen. Now let's actually do a little bit of comparison of some years. Let's take a look at the 2005 hurricane season numbers and see if we can find a similar like a similarity to this past or this year that we're currently in right now. So let's take a look into that particular season. Now, what I want to look up here is by when did the storm started forming. So let me see. Let me keep scrolling down. Okay, so Tropical Storm Arlene. So Tropical Storm Arlene formed on, let's see. It looked like actually it formed on June 8th. June 8th. Now remember, this is the busiest season of all times. Okay, is 2005. If we compare to this year, 2020, 2005 obviously was the busiest season, but 2020 so far is looking like it could be even worse. than 2005. Why? Because with the amount of storms that did form in 2005, the very first storm didn't form until June 8th. Today is May 28th, and actually we already have had two. Now, if you look at the initial forecast here on the left, on the right side of the screen, these are basically what the majority of the weather organizations were saying. Okay, so remember, 2005 was the busiest season on record. Now here we have where all these different organizations actually around April, see, like the Colorado State University, April 1st came out with a very low prediction. TSR, same thing. Everybody was about the same range, about the 13 named storms, 7 hurricanes, 3 major hurricanes. Okay, what actually happened? We got 28 storms formed. So remember, that year we actually ran out of names. So we actually had to even use Greek names, which it has never happened before. Now, hurricanes, double the amount of hurricanes they said that were going to happen. We had 15 and 7 major hurricanes. I mean, it was an extremely busy season. So what is that pointing out? I don't want to say that actually we are going to have the same season, but I'm saying that the numbers are looking more like we are closer to potentially be even busier than 2005. Again, don't take that with a grain of salt. Don't, because we don't know. But going back to the storm, so by June, we already had one. June. The other one formed at the end of June. The following one was July 3rd, and Dennis on July 4th. So basically, we had, before even the strongest part of the season, we had 6 storms? July. We had already like 7 storms form before August, which is pretty crazy. So right now we have 2. Is it gonna repeat? We don't know that, but I just wanted to show you guys so you can have a pretty good comparison of what potentially could be up to. Now, as we get closer to the season, it's time to start getting ready. Keep an eye on the weather, and again, I will make another video if anything changes, any new developments, but I want to share this information with you guys because it is very important that we keep an eye on the tropics. This year seems to be like it's going to be historic. We already are into 2 storms even before the beginning of the season. So that's very important for you guys to keep an eye on that. Please subscribe to my channel, like the video, comment, and if anything, any questions in the comment section. I will put some links also for very important things that are going to help you stay safe during the hurricane season. As we get closer to the beginning, please check out those links. I do definitely get a little bit of a commission. I wanted to point that out there, but it helps the channel grow if you guys obviously use the links. But the main thing is, of course, I want to help you guys stay safe. So subscribe to my channel, like the video. Have a good day. We'll talk to you soon.